What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Mezcal Buzz Experience, where we have some great conversations with some interesting people while we taste some great mezcales. I'm your host, Marco Gutierrez.
I'm Jack, and we're here with Alberto Ochoa from Firme Mezcal. And yeah, this is our second conversation. Welcome back.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me back. And I've been looking forward to the second opportunity to talk mezcal, drink mezcal, and, have a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the fun part, right? We're going to drink some mezcales. We love the mezcal that you bring to share with us.
Appreciate it.
But we haven't talked for a while, so I think you're going to catch us up a little bit. We've seen you on social. We've been in touch now that we're getting the new episode going. But, dude, a lot's been happening with Firme. Fill us in a little bit.
Indeed, man. First of all, again, thank you for having me for, a second opportunity to, chat and drink mezcal. And yeah, it's been a wild ride again. 2025 was crazy year, and so far 2026 it's been nothing but full of surprises to say the least. But yeah, we were cooking some amazing mezcal. A lot of projects still on the background. A lot of opportunities that are on the horizon. So we're very looking forward to that opportunity. I can't say much about that yet, but it's bright. It's looking firme.
Cool. What let's try to tie it in from 2025. You said was a little bit crazy. That this year we always start a little tough and things, but getting past the craziness, what has been some of those hurdles, or what's been exciting that we got coming up?
Well, first I wanna touch on what's exciting about this industry. It's the fact that we get to connect with people. Activations, events, festivals, all that stuff. That's what makes it a lot of fun. Talking to people, educating with the consumers out there. On the background, you got Carlos, which you'll get on the chair for a few minutes here to talk about how those activations help the brands. It's necessary. It's a must thing to do in the industry, and that's what makes it fun and exciting. Always ready for the next batches. If you remember from last year, we gifted you guys a 3-bottle pack, everything in the same alcohol range. And that was a Tepestate, a Pulquero, and a Madre Quiche. We launched the Tepestate. So what's happening in the very next quarter or so, it's the launch of the next 2 batches, basically. Will be coming up our Pulquero, which is honestly, it's amazing. And then eventually drop the Tepestate. And that's what makes it fun. What's preparing for the batches, logistically, what do we have to do, certification in Mexico, all that stuff is a lot of fun. But also in the industry in general, it's been tough. Not only for us as a small company, but the industry in general. It's been rough. It's been it's been hit with a lot of things from all different angles, from consumption, education, import, tariffs, restaurant closures, liquor stores not buying as much, simply because the consumer has shifted a little bit, into other things. RTDs are a big thing in the industry right now, so I see a lot of brands shifting their focus into RTDs or ready-to-drink cocktails, and also non-alcoholic stuff, which is very, very popular right now with the new generations. So as a company, you have to consider all those factors, and that's what kind of keeps you on your toes, and then strategy. How do you going to maximize the current exposure that you already have in the industry? And then as a company, that's where you have to strategize a lot of the, ideas that you have in mind to stay relevant. You want to expand to other markets or focus on the markets that you're already in and saturate that focus there, saturate that market with bigger and better sales teams, not so much more products, or you don't want to drop so many products in a market that is not buying. So there's a lot of moving parts that come with the industry. So that's the only thing that I wouldn't say it sucks, but it's something that you have to consider. Either consider, adjust it, or die it, basically.
Absolutely. I mean, you said several things right now, so I do want to touch back, kind of bounce on a couple of them. We'll start a little positive. Let's start with tasting. You mentioned the 3-box set.
Correct.
Right here we have the Tepestate from that box set, and we're going to see the other 2 go into production coming in the future?
Coming in the future, yeah, this year, yeah.
Oh man. Well, if they're
quick
anything
cheers.
like the Stepastate.
Jack
Salud,
raves.
guys.
Salud. Jack
and let me
raves
just
on
say-
the Tepestate.
And let me just say that it's so fun to have Jack now in front of the cameras now. You know?
Yes.
So
Oh,
this is for you,
cheers.
Jack.
Salud.
Salud, brother.
Yeah, I've been.
That's just great.
Man.
I want to talk about a second ago. You started off with the positive note of a lot of the activations, a lot of events. Since the past years, we've seen a lot more events happening. I mean, we're in Southern California, so there's like a ton of really awesome stuff. But there's a lot more stuff happening, and I see you guys actively being at a lot of events, bringing large crowds and stuff. Talk to us about some of these events that you've maybe seen positive for the community and some to look out for with Mezcal Firme.
100%. So last year, part of that toughness or reality check in the industry, I'm not sure if you remember or not, but there was big festivals that were canceled. Like LA Tequila Fest was canceled in September. So, that obviously it's a little detrimental to the progress that we feel like we're doing with the consumer. And then every year you get bombarded by invites to all these festivals, which is great. But now you have to balance the income or the revenue that you're generating to be able to attend all those festivals, and I'm not talking about a few. I'm talking about just this month, we're going to do like 4 or 5, We're double booked on the 28th, we just did one last weekend with the candy cocktails. And then I have Phoenix coming up next month. I have like 4 or 5. So all those things that are usually part of the planning for your calendar year are planned ahead. You got to make sure they have cool merch or fresh merch, sticker, hats, T-shirts, all that good stuff. But it's tough if you are not generating enough revenue like you usually do. And all those factors that come with the industry right now with, the immigration stuff, a lot of restaurant closures that we usually sell into restaurants. They're no longer around. They're shut down. Liquor stores are not buying. So all those factors that typically will generate revenue for us that go hand in hand with all the festivals that we have planned for the calendar, it's really tough when you have to plan that out,
Yeah. And how do you consider that, or receiving so many invites to a lot of the festivals that are coming out? Are all festivals created equal? Is it sometimes that, how do you pick and choose? Is the right mentality to be like, we got to be everywhere? Or do sometimes some festivals don't, for whatever reason?
Makes sense.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like it's hard. I mean, I'm sure planning events has its own art. You want to get the consumer there for the brands. You want to make sure promotion's happening. So, I mean, I don't know, some cost more than others and things like that. So how do you pick and choose, and what has proven?
So I think for us, we've been in the market for 6 years already. I think that we already paid our dues where, I'll be honest, man, we were investing in anything anyone that would invite us, we would say yes. Some were $1,500, some were $1,000, some were $700, some were $200. So I think that we said yes to every single one, because as a new brand, as a new company, you want all that exposure. You need that exposure. You want to be out there putting your product in front of the consumer. But I think that paying our dues for the last 6 years, that I'm not saying that we have the luxury to say no to a lot, but we have really, really filtered out the ones that would make sense for us. Like the ones that, they're doing it just for the sole purpose of money, and there's really not much for the brand. We have to pay for the booth. We have to give away the product. We have to taste, obviously, the time, the product, the promo, the merch. Sometimes financially it doesn't make sense. But before we're like, let's try it. We just want to put the product out there. Now we have to really evaluate if it makes sense. Financially, it's huge. And then, the demands of the festival, sometimes it could be a couple $1,000s. Like, no, we don't. It's not like we don't want to do paid events anymore, but we can actually say, like, you know what, I'll be there. I'll donate my time, my product, my merch, but I'm not going to pay,
Yeah.
Is that something that if you need vendors, you need to fill up the booth, we're here.
Yeah.
But we're not going to pay, on top of everything that we have to spend behind,
And it's hard, like you said, giving all the product and the time.
It's so difficult, man, for small brands like ours.
Most events also, it's not like you could sell at all these, right? It's very far and few that I've seen
Very
events where
limited.
you could leave.
Very
That is a
limited.
benefit, I would say, to a brand when you see the potential to.
So now festivals are lining up with liquor stores. They have to work out the logistics where they somehow activate their license for retail, and those events really make sense. Because it gives us that opportunity to legally be able to sell that product through the three-tier system, all that stuff, and then eventually sell a few bottles where we can pay off at least that expense for the weekend, which is it's necessary for small brands or any branded thing in general. So there's a lot of festivals now that we can say, yes, we'll be there. And then we get invite now, I guess because we're exposed a little bit more. We have emails and DMs saying like, hey, we have this festival here. We have this. We're like, oh no. Like once they send us their deck and we're like, oh, it's $1,000. We're like, no, thank you for the invite, but
Yeah.
financially it's not that moment for us anymore. So that's the pros and the cons.
And that's interesting because on that model, I guess we could say, is a lot of these events are for brand exposure, for example, right? You got to get in front of the consumer, they taste, and then the idea and the plan is like they go out and have the brand top of mind and go purchase it. But one thing you mentioned a second ago earlier was like the RTD, zero alcohol. A lot of people are drinking less, that we're seeing those numbers and reports come out. And it's funny because we had Joseph Salifs on a while ago, and he touched on that too. And he mentioned something interesting where he saw was like, it's like a trend, right? Like these things happen, but he's like, people are going to start drinking again. And he's like, I predict that's a fad. So yeah, I'm curious, is that something that as a brand you kind of double down on and be like, hey, we stick it through, or is there a different type of adaptation that occurs?
Yeah, great question, man. For us to adapt would be to kind of ride the wave, adapt to what the new consumer is, demanding, which is RTDs. So part of our 2026 projection, without the consideration that 2025 was really going to slow us down, in general, the market, not just us, that we would have enough revenue or interest from investors to eventually launch our RTD. That's already in the books. It's still there. That the plan, the blueprint is already there. But financially, with this whole detrimental, consumption of the new generations, it's gonna push us back at least another year, if not more. Because launching an RTD, it's completely different than launching a spirit. You can do small batches, you can do a couple pallets, and then push the product one bottle at a time. With RTDs, man, based on the research that I done or that I know, you can't launch an RTD with one pallet. You need at least 20, 25 pallets. You're gonna saturate the market with events, activations, free samples, free cans. You're selling into retail stores, hopefully a couple cases at a time. So the dynamic, it changes 100%, So, that goal now, it has to be reconsidered and basically put on the back burner, So everything that you plan ahead, one little switch in consumption or in the industry is going to put you back another year, if not more. So all those factors, man, really, really take a toll in the industry in general, and the plan that we had with the RTD, the flavors that we had, it was just something that as soon as we launched, and if we do, I know we're going to eventually do it, it's going to be a hit. It's going to be a hit. The can itself is going to be pretty cool. That's what people want. That's what people demand. And we've done all these events where we do a batch of, a flavor of a cocktail that we mix with Firme, of course. And people are literally asking us, like, yeah, are you guys going to can this? Are you guys going to sell it in the cans? Like, maybe we should, It's a good idea. And that's kind of what led the conversation towards maybe we should consider an RTD, But once reality hits and the industry has shifted, it changes a lot of things, So you have to kind of go back to the drawing board all over again.
Yeah. Interesting. With that, should we pour another mezcal? Continue this
Absolutely.
conversation. I do
Absolutely.
want to follow up on the other mezcales because I have a question on that. So we'll go grab one of those three, pour it up, move on.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll be right back.
Cheers. Saludcita.
And we're back with Alberto Ochoa from Firme Mezcal. And yeah, let's pick up the conversation right where we left off.
Beautiful. Yeah, let's start out with allowing me to pour one of our pulqueros.
Yeah.
And I want to add
Of
with
course,
that.
with the plastic container.
Yeah, when you came in, I saw that. I was like, "Hey, I see plastic bottles in your bag there."
And I still got puntas that I don't think I brought last time.
And it's cool because right now you're pouring the pulquero. Here I have the pulquero from that box set, which was one of my favorites. This is Salmiana. You use agave Salmiana in this pulquero?
It's Americana.
It is Americana.
Americana,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. And the other thing, this though that you have is another batch of pulquero.
It's a slightly different batch, yeah. Same grade, and it's the new batch that we eventually gonna produce in the 750 bottle.
Perfect.
Amazing.
I love that. And that's one of the things that is beautiful about mezcal too, that I love to hear all the time too, is like new batch coming, because we know the batches are, yeah, look at that. We know the batches they're unique to itself,
Unique,
right? They're
yeah.
gonna be, it's not like it's gonna taste way different, right?
Yeah.
Like they
Or
have it
it could be,
own.
or
Yeah.
it could be, you know. So that's the beauty about this, man. That it can go either way. It can be like completely different, even though it's the same agave, same ABV, same proof, or you know, it can go the opposite direction.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty about sipping mezcal.
Awesome.
The aromas is also
Delicious.
very perfumey in a way that completely different than Tepestate. And I noticed that my bottle was before we started taping that it was super expanded, and I was like, oh man, I hopefully all the vapors held up in there, because yeah, that was so puffed up. But yeah,
It's very like fresh chiles.
you're right. Yeah.
Not the spice, like the
Like a canna bell pepper. We said.
You know, and you were talking about something earlier, you mentioned something earlier, and with all these changes in the industry and the shifting consumer and everything, you know, I think personally, as someone who's new to this world of agave spirits, education has been the biggest thing for me. Is
Yeah.
you know, absorbing as much as I can, and how are you guys as a brand, as a distributor, how are you guys approaching that? You know, educating this new generation of consumers.
That's a great question too, man. I think that in general, mezcal or agave spirits, besides tequila, which is a category of its own, agave spirits, mezcal, bacanora, sotol, they need a lot of education. You know, people are still very, I wouldn't say scared, but still not very familiar with the spirit, you know. So there's still a lot of doubts. The comparisons still are, you know, like, oh, you guys are tequila Smoky cousin and Smoky this or Smoky that, and it's like there's a reason, because smoke it's an important element in the mezcal production. It shouldn't be the primary focus or the primary palate that you taste, but smoke it's definitely has to be embedded into a mezcal, right? So education is key. We have to explain, and then hopefully you guys get Carlos here on the chair later. He's the one representing the brand in most of the activations, most of the events, and people still ask that question. They're like, "Oh, it's smoky. Oh, why is it smoky?" Like, we have to educate, like, why smoke. It's an important element of any mezcal. You know, from cooking, roasting the piñas, you know, prepping the oven, conical oven, you know, tajona crushing, all that stuff. The smoke, it's already embedded. As soon as you put that piña in that oven, in the conical oven underground, smoke is gonna be one of those key elements that is gonna be showcasing your mezcal. There's a lot of brands out there that smoke. It's powering, it's intense, and for us, it was one of those. If I remember correctly, I think we spoke about this on the first episode, where for us in our Maestro Mezcalero, Jorge Aron, was important for us to show or express that concern, where we felt like the U.S. consumer complained too much about that specific note in the mezcal, right? So how do we offset it? How do we turn it down, notch it down a little bit? And I think that we did, for at least for our expression, where we want to be at. That's where we feel like it's a good approach for the new consumers that we're trying to reach. There's a lot of brands out there that I love how they taste, intense and strong and diesely and gassy. And that's maybe the profile that they're going for. For us, it was something a little more subtle without removing it completely, but it was important to educate people why we did it, you know, why we felt like our expressions across the board should be, you know, equally balanced in that smoke, where it's not something that the first thing people get turned off as, like, oh, Firme is too smoky, you know, it's too overpowering, things like that. So it was important. And education is key. All the activations that we say yes to and we try to participate, talking about mezcal, educating people how to drink it, it's important. The processes, the different agaves that exist in the agave spirit world. So education is very, very important. You know, how to you know, mix it. Not so much technicalities of how to do a great cocktails, because I'm not a bartender, but how to enjoy it. If you don't want to sip it like this, how to maybe mix it into a cocktail. And today being Margarita Day, we'll hopefully do some crazy experiments with the mezcalita, with the jabalí, which is not very common to mix jabalí, such high quality jabalí, into a cocktail, but we're gonna do it anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I want to kind of bring it back a little bit, like industry talk, what we were talking about earlier, and an interesting point you mentioned, how like tailoring back or like adjusting the smoke profile in a mezcal. And so my question is kind of being able to control the different parts of production, the different aspects of the different tiers in the tier system, I think is a benefit you guys have. You mentioned to me before, you control every part of the production and distribution and import and stuff. Is that, would you say right now, how like the industry has been kind of changing? Is that a benefit for you guys right now and a strong thing, or does it make it even a challenge that you have to watch over all the different aspects?
At least for us, for Firme, it's a great problem to have. And as an import and distributor, and every aspect, that every tier that you mentioned that we control is beneficial, because we're not buying our mezcal from anyone. You know, I think that we left up last episode where we outgrew the first palenque. You know, very small palenque. Hopefully, you guys get to, you know, visit soon, so we still run it. But you can see the difference between 5 years ago, 6 years ago, to the current one. And controlling your own production, your own juice, basically your own agave, where you're not buying batches from A, B, and C. So, you know, growing our own espadines, buying, of course, wild agaves, but controlling the production, distillation, bottling, export, import, it's us as well. And then sales, we're still doing boots in the ground ourselves. Now we have other distributors, that's a different topic that we'll talk ahead. But as importers, distributors, we're the boots on the ground. You know, we control every aspect. So for a small brand like ours, it's important that we can control, because that would give us the leverage or the control of financially challenging situations where a lot of brands can't afford it. We have our own warehouse. We don't have to pay no one for a warehouse. We don't have to pay no one for sales or distribution, because it's us. Yes, we do have other distributors in other states, you know, which is beneficial, because we don't have to be physically out there doing the delivery ourselves, you know, the sales, things like that. So controlling all the tiers as a small brand is hugely beneficial. But it also creates a lot more challenges. You know, financially, now you're responsible for all the tiers. You know, either you're buying just the juice or the mezcal from a producer, you just buy it and bring it and sell it. Now you have to think like, oh, how do we produce more at the distillery? How do we bottle more? How do we buy more bottles, more labels, more boxes? All the taxes and fees that we have to pay to import it. Now we have to, you know, go out there and physically either hire a sales team or ourselves to go sell it. And now we have to be chasing the checks, you know, for vendors to pay us back. So that's the challenge, you know, the challenging aspect of this industry. You know.
And would you say then, that's great answer, and I guess in a sense of advice I ask too, is like for those who maybe want to help import or start a brand. I know it's even an interesting topic. I think sometimes people are like, stop bringing more brands out, but if you're able to do that, in the case that I'm asking, even right now, I actually want to share a mezcal with you for you to taste. This is Honor y Amor. This is a brand that a good friend of mine, Julian, that I've been a supporter of his brand, his family brand, and everything as well. And so a goal for us in our relationship is to at some point be able to import this and share this with everybody over here the right way.
I got you.
I mean, I'd love to learn that. So that's why I was asking, is that like a problem that someone should look forward to, or a challenge like, hey, control every level if you can, or is it like,
No, I
with-
mean, I got lucky. If I mentioned from last episode that it was as a crazy story with Jim Riley, the founder of Baja United, which now it's our company. The crazy story where he basically, gave me the keys to the company, and not everyone is going to have the luxury to have that opportunity, So you're right. As a not only as a mezcal producer, brand owner, but we also have a import company, distribution company. So now in that sense of the business, we get hundreds of emails from brands that want to be imported into the U.S. Not only mezcales, but even Mexican wines, craft beer, destilados, agaves, sotoles, bacanoras, even tequilas, because they're reaching out to the market. The U.S. market still continues and dominates the global market when it comes to consumption. So we get all these brands that they have the same dream that I did. Like I want to launch my own company. I want to launch my own brand. And they feel like once the product gets in the U.S., we won. No, that's when the real challenge starts. And I will take anyone's money. If that was my business model, I would say, you want your brand? Pay me, and I'll take your money. And then, if you fail, you fail. But my conscience would not let me do that, man. I wanna help my community. I wanna help my fellow brand owners with proper education. How does the whole process from beginning to your bottle physically in the U.S. represents?
Yeah.
And the challenge is, brother, sometimes it's not what they want to hear. But I feel like it's my duty to help them out the right way, man. I don't want to be the one that it's like, I'll import your brand. I'll charge you warehouse fees. I'll keep it in my warehouse. If it sells, it sells. I don't care. You're still going to pay me for warehouse. And then you still got to pay your monthlies, and you still got to pay your state tax. And I don't care. I can easily go that route. But I feel like for your own friend, I have a lot of friends too, and people that reach out to me is like, yeah, I want to import. And they're like, give me 30 minutes. We'll do a date and I'll try to explain. And I never hear back.
Yeah.
Because people eventually get discouraged by how difficult the process is.
Yeah, and I think that totally reflects with what I think sometimes too, because like I've been having this conversation with Julian for a long time, for several years now. Like the idea is like, hey, I want to bring this and share this, and his brand, his family's brand, and their story. It's like I don't want to like come up with a new brand and say, hey, I want to be like a representative with
Brand
them.
ambassador, yeah.
And it like something, right? Like I want to bring their brand over, and I want to, but part of that fear, I think, is like you mentioned, there's a lot of levels, there's a lot of things. Somebody might be like, hey, yeah, you got the warehouse, and we'll take your money. And so part of that fear, I don't want, no le quiero quedar mal.
Of course.
So in one way, quedo mal that like we've been talking this many years and I haven't like stepped in to make something happen. But
like the phrase,
it's
over
kind of-
promise, under deliver.
Yeah. I mean, I've been wanting to help Julian. We've had this conversation. I want to share this mezcal with you because, well, I'm calling it a mezcal right here, but this destilado. It's not even a mezcal, I should say. It says pulque, but this is a destilado de pulque. So this is actual pulque that's taken and then distilled. So it's not the same process as taking the piñas, cooking the piñas, and fermenting them. This is the aguamiel fermented pulque, and then the pulque is distilled. So it's a unique
Salucita.
spirit.
Wow. Wow. That is so good, brother. Let's import it. Let's bring it.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, escuchaste, Julián. Ahí vamos.
Wow, that's good juice, man.
Has a unique flavor
Yeah.
that you do find in some mezcales. I think one note that sticks out in the pulque is a the fermentado note, the
Yeah,
note
yeah.
of fermentation, a little bit of sweet,
Very sweet.
almost
yeah.
like kind of like a cupreata might have
You're right,
that
yeah.
type of flavor. But yeah, I think that's interesting what we were just talking about earlier about those challenges that some people either aren't ready to face on right away, or you might jump in and not ready for that. So I liked to hear that you guys have that setup. You were mentioning it earlier that it was like a blessing in disguise, or like a surprise to get the import like that.
It has, and that has led us to in a different direction in the industry. Not only as a brand owner or supplier, but also as an importer, distributor. Not so much distribution, because we help the brands line up with other distributors that logistically can be able to deliver the product from warehouse to consumer or account. But the challenge for us is educating those brands. I'm not going to say any names again, but I have a lot of brands that have reached out to me, and it's like, I have the next best mezcal in the world that it's going to hit the U.S. They're very excited, and I love that enthusiasm, because I was that person once. But once I was like, all right, you have this in Mexico? No, I don't have it. Oh, you got to get your certification, your FDA certification for the palenque. Oh, I don't think we have. No, it's easy to do. It's not easy to do, but it's possible, but it's going to take time. Now we have to talk about, financials. Are you sitting on certain cash that is going to require importing it from Oaxaca, Puebla, Michoacan, whatever that might be, to the border, pay the broker, cross the border, pay the taxes, freight from the warehouse in San Diego to our warehouse. Finally, you made it in the U.S., but guess what? Now the real challenge starts. Who's going to go sell it? And they're like, oh, I have a few friends that own liquor stores and restaurants. And I was like, that's not a solid business plan. Now, who's going to go sell it? Who's going to be your brand ambassador, your activations? Are you going to pay someone to out there? They expect that we as importer distributors, that's our job. Like, no, you have to build your own sales teams. Once I go through those steps with brand owners that eventually want to come into the US, it could be a little discouraging once they know how much it takes. The product could be amazing, the bottle could be great, the label, the brand, the story behind it. But once I lay the cards on the table, because I just don't want to take their money, man. Like, I could easily do that, because I was once that person that was hungry and had a dream of building my own brand. And once I laid those cards on the table and said, you need A, B, C, D, and we're basically on M, and we still have other 20 letters to go. And they're like, oh, okay, I didn't know you needed that. It's a little discouraging.
So I think that one thing that's really cool and unique about the position you're in is, we were talking about education earlier, and it's like being able to educate also the brands, and being able to educate the persons that want to come and do it right. So like, you're educating on different levels. I would love to have a chat with Carlos here in a second about the education that you guys mentioned earlier, that's consumer face, and we're going to pick that up in a second. But I think that's a really cool, unique position too, that like the education also goes to distributors, also goes to brand owners, also goes to, and you're able to do that, huh?
Yeah, and that's something that Carlos, being the face of the activations, the face of the market here in California, we do 4 festivals a month, and he's out there talking to 1,000 people per festival, man. I kid you not. And sometimes he gets asked the same question over and over, and it's all about doing each expression one at a time. Why this, why that, and educating within 10 seconds that we have, because we have 50 people in the line that want the same experience. And a lot of these people that come to these festivals, they don't just want a free shot. They want to learn about the brand, So for us, if we get that opportunity, we're going to take those 2, 3, 5 minutes with the person in front of us, even though we have 50 people in the line, because that's important for us, not only as a brand, but as an industry. So that's huge. Wait until you check it out from Carlos.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. Well, we'll be right back. We're going to mix up some margaritas and be back
I like
with
that
Carlos.
idea. Saludcita. Good juice. Julian, let's bring it over.
All right, we're back, and now we have Carlos Martinez here from Mezcal Firme, and let's get started with a nice little taste of the jabalí. Oh, does that work?
Yes.
Yeah. And we got the jabalí. I understand that this is is this your favorite, Carlos?
when the brand was launched and the Jabalí was introduced to us, this was one of my favorites. Just because I like to tell people that when they go to this to the booth where we're doing the samplings, I like to tell people that for me, because everybody has a different palate, but for me, Jabalí has not a really big bite at the beginning. At the beginning, I'm sorry, can we do that again?
Yeah. Take it up. It's one of your favorites.
So it's one of my favorites because it really doesn't have a big bite at the beginning or at the end, but it's mezcal through and through. The smokiness, the aggressiveness, the high proof, it's all there. So saludcita.
Salud.
With a Jabalí.
And Carlos, we were talking earlier with Alberto about kind of the education, and we know we've been at several events, and we see you guys on social, and you're behind the booth every day, or at every event. Feels like every day.
Feels like it.
Talk to us kind of about your connection with the community and bringing the Firme brand to the masses, as it were, or kind of how do you feel about being that kind of face of the brand at all these events and talking to people and educating them?
My role with Firme Mezcal is to give Alberto the flexibility to be able to talk directly to like distributors and owners and restaurant managers, because being behind the booth is just, you're there, you're stuck, you have a line of 40, 50 people deep, and you wanna let everybody taste everything. Being behind the bar, Alberto, he wouldn't be able to do any of that stuff. So I've taken on the role to just be behind the booth and give him that flexibility so he can get out there. We have another cousin, Jose Carlos, who is actually technically my assistant, or all three of us as assistant. So it's actually a whole team that goes around Firme to all these events, and then just show people our brand, push it out there, and let them taste as much or as little as they want.
Yeah, and what have you noticed with, throughout the years now that you guys have been doing this, when people come to the booth, what is it that they mostly know already about mezcal, what they don't know? Because we're in the mezcal world, so we think, oh yeah, like people know what mezcal is and tequila, but you being face forward with the consumer at all these events, people are often newcomers and wanting to learn, and you have this cool opportunity to obviously show them and share them the brand Firme, but an opportunity to share with them the world of mezcal.
Right. So a lot of people come to the booth, right off the bat. You can pick out the ones that are not really knowledgeable because they're always asking for the reposados and añejos, and we have to remind them, hey, you're in mezcal world, and there's none of that. There are some mezcales out there that are reposados and añejos, but that's not our niche. That's not where Firme Mezcal is at. So just letting them know what mezcal is a little bit, because I'm not an expert in the field. But the little that we know, the little that we educate ourselves with, push that information out there and show them that you're not supposed to be afraid of mezcal. A lot of people come in and they look at mezcal with an ugly face and it's too smoky, it's too alcohol, it's this and that. But hey, try it. Just try our mezcal. And then for me, a lot of gratitude in doing all of this is seeing the faces and the people when they come in and tell you, I really don't like mezcal because it's too smoky or it's too aggressive. But then they try Firme Mezcal and they say, I like that. It's well balanced. Not a lot of smoke, not a lot of alcohol. Although we do have, our high proofs at 49. We start at 42%. But they really enjoy Firme Mezcal. And we try to be we try to be non-biased, but it's very hard not to tell people, hey, when you come to Firme Mezcal, you are trying Firme Mezcal. It's the best mezcal. Firme Mezcal, best mezcal.
Absolutely. I think what I share, or I could align with on that, is when you're sharing with people and introducing them, especially if they're curious to the mezcal world and they have already that misconception, like, I don't like it, it's smoky. You have that like aha moment, huh? Like, and a lot of it is holding their hand into like you're going to taste an aggressive spirit.
Exactly.
Let me tell you about that. This is how you're going to do
Exactly.
it. Or this is the expressions we have. Let me start you here. And you see their face like, thank you for taking me on this ride, right?
Not only with the high proof, the alcohol content or the smokiness, but also they have no idea that they're going to get a different expression between bottle to bottle, because each bottle that we have is actually a different agave. So in our lineup, we have our tepestate, we have a jabalí, we have a tobalá, and the espadín, and all those are going to give you a different expression. And a lot of people don't understand. They just think, oh, it's just going to be smoky. But no, depending on your palate, you're going to get a different profile in your mouth. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And I mean, as someone who's like newer to the agave world, I think that was like the first thing that like I was like, oh wait, it's not just the smoke, it's not just the espadín. There's the whole world outside of just the smoky espadín, or quote unquote.
Yeah.
And it's I mean, you guys have a fantastic lineup.
Oh, people love it. We love it.
It's funny because when people realize that there's just so much more, it's like their eyes, and they get excited to go into this rabbit hole that now becomes mezcal and mezcal culture, right? And I remember when Rocio was on Mezcal Thing was on our podcast, she said, yeah, people will be like, thank you, man. Thank you for ruining my life, because now like I'm gonna go and like look for all these different expressions in mezcales. But another cool thing that I want to ask you about is that we see your guys's booth and your experiences always has like a line like from here past you guys on the camera there. Like it's long, and like you guys attract people for a lot of different reasons, and a big part of it is the culture, right? Like what are some of the things that you guys do to help bring people into this world, right?
Well, it's a blessing, and it's also a headache, because sometimes we go 50 deep, 60 deep, and I really want to get you to try all the mezcales, but at the same time I want you to get out, because I want the next person to step up. But it is a blessing in disguise. It's just the brand, I believe. It's it attracts a lot of people. The name attracts a lot of people. We have a lot of little gimmicks. Sometimes we bring out some little lowrider bikes. From the beginning, we've always had those. The chanclazo, it's a game that these guys like to do. Throw a cholo flip flop through a hole and win some prizes. The last event we had some calendars. We didn't have any games, but we'll bring those out. We have a blink or a plinko where you can win a pin, you can win a shot, you can win a hat, you can win a shirt. So, but I believe that the name most foremost brings the people, because they recognize the name. Oh, Firme, what's over there? That's something that we grew up on. We know the name, and it's got to be Firme. So they come and they make the line, and I'm sorry, sometimes it's 100 degrees outside, and it's just I appreciate the people that go, and believe it or not, we'll have people come 2, 3, 4 times waiting in line just so they can try Firme one more time before
So
they
you
go.
guys, it's worth the
Yes.
wait in line.
Yes, yes.
And it's proof there. I think it's really interesting too that you create engagement
Oh, yeah.
around Firme, around Mezcal, which is cool, because yes, you have like the games and that people attract it, and that just shows that you're in touch with the community that's around you guys, because you have to find ways to reach the community that you're with.
Well, that's what Firme is. Firme is community. Firme is art. Firme is religion. Firme is something that our community already knows or doesn't know, because believe it or not, we have a lot of Hispanics that come to our booth, and they have no idea what mezcal is. So that's why we're there, to educate them a little bit just on what the differences between tequila and mezcal are, but at the same time do it in a funny way, in a fun way. Sometimes we come off a little bit aggressive, because that's just our attitude sometimes. So don't take it to heart, but we just like to joke a lot. We like to have way too much fun sometimes. And then, hey, we're sampling with you guys too. So if you see us behind the bar and we got a little 3, 4, 10 shots behind us plus a beer, hey man, you never know what kind of Carlos you're gonna get that day.
It's relatable, is what it
It's
is.
very relatable.
What would you say in this journey to like connecting, because we educate people as from the point that we're at, and we educate those that don't know up to that point. Have you, what would you say your journey was like learning, and as you take a step forward and you're able to help people coming along too, like has it been a journey for you too?
Yes, all this has been a journey. Alberto brought us into this crazy world that we had no idea. He just said, "Cousin, I need your help. I need you to help me out with photography, with video," and that's where we started. And then just listening to what this guy was doing behind the booth, and then just little by little, taking the initiative to help out more, go out to more events. But that's where it all started. It's just listening to him, because he's the one that educated me. Everything that I say, I'm just a parakeet repeating. I'm sorry. So let's try that again. So I'm just repeating basically what my cousin has taught me. And when we take trips and we go to San Francisco or we go to San Diego, I'm picking his brain too. Hey man, what is this? What is this agave? Or what's that little thing that sticks out of the agave? And he'll tell me. He'll let me know, because of course he's more into it than I am, in a more hands-on type of approach. So I'm learning as we go along too. So like I said, I'm not a teacher, I'm not an educator, but Alberto, I like to pick his brain, and he tells me a lot of the stuff that he knows.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you're like at the next level up, but a few levels obviously from me, but it's refreshing to hear somebody that's like still learning in this industry.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I have so much more to learn.
Yeah,
It's sometimes overwhelming.
People come to the booth, and then just to make it flow a little bit faster, I already try to give them like a heads up of what they're about to taste, or what they're about to bring in, introduce into their profile, just so they can get a little quirkiness, or a little hint of what's coming, to prepare them. Like I said, mezcal can be a little bit intimidating, but if you give them a little bit of a heads up of what's coming, it kind of tones them down a little bit, and they're able to enjoy it a lot more than
Yeah, I like to think we're guides.
we are
Guiding them.
We're guiding them.
Cool. And I mean, with that said, I'm just gonna say I already wrapped up.
Oh
my
yeah, no,
Javali here,
right away from the beginning.
and it changed from the beginning to the other taste that, as you were talking, I was like, oh yeah, listening to it was fantastic.
Yeah, Jabali is very smooth through and through. It's one of my favorites. Tepetaste is another favorite of mine. But just getting out there and inviting people to the booth, come around, try all our samples. I know sometimes there's going to be 40 people telling you to hurry up, but
Yeah.
we'll take your time with you. We'll let you educate. We'll let you sample everything. And if we don't have time, come around again. Come around
Yeah.
again, and 2 3 times.
Come back and check, so you guys know it's worth the wait. When you go up, say hello to Carlos, because he's going to walk you through the lineup, and you're going to have a fun experience. I want to try the chanclazo thing, because I've had chanclas thrown at me, but I haven't thrown the chanclas.
Now you can win a prize.
I'm going to get the grand prize.
The little one. Yeah, it's a little inside joke.
Cool. Cool. Alberto's throwing down Margarita with the jabalí.
Yeah.
We'll try that next.
We're going to try that next.
Sweet.
Man, thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Feeling
Appreciate it.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Cool, and
let's
we'll
go
be
check.
right back.
All right, guys, we're back here with this unique cocktail with the Firme Jabalí. I really like this. I called this one the Brown Pride Margarita.
That's a good one.
What's up?
That's a good one, Marco. I like it.
Why? Tell us what's in this margarita, and why are we looking at this beautiful amber color?
So, being National Margarita Day, we said, why not? Let's go crazy today. What do you think, Jack? Right?
It's
We actually knocked out
delicious.
something pretty
This
dope.
is actually, you guys haven't seen it. This is actually my second.
So I like that name. First of all, Marco, thank you. Brown Pride Margarita in National Margarita Day today, the 22nd. We did something that is not very common to mix, which is our jabalí. But since you ended the last episode with Carlos and education and activation, jabalí was already here at the table. Said, why not? Let's try it. Let's knock it out. And we ended up with this crazy Brown Pride mezcalita made with jabalí, which is not very common, but why not? And the brownish colors, the hue, it's actually from Mr. Grover's Respeto agave syrup. It's giving it this nice brown hue, and we made it with jabalí. Simple ingredients: lime juice, Respeto agave syrup, and our jabalí, and we ended up with this, I think, delicious cocktail.
Fantastic.
So, saludcita for National Margarita Day.
Salud.
Saludcita. Thank you.
Yeah, you mentioned weed.
Interesting.
Oh my gosh, that is.
And I like that it's a traditional margarita. I mean, with the jabalí here, but straight up margarita. Simple
ingredients.
Yeah.
That's it. That's
That's
all you
what a
need.
margarita is.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jack?
It's how I make my margaritas, and now I'm gonna have to find that agave syrup because this is next level. Next level.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Appreciate
And we were just talking with Carlos about community engagement and you know, him being out there as much as you are, and kind of, you know, where are you seeing Firme go in 2026 and beyond?
It's going to be a challenge. Big shout out to Mike at Boulevard Connect. He's a community member helping not only us as a spirit brand, but the community, the lowrider community, the Chicano community, the lowrider community, clothing brands, lowrider clubs, us as a spirit. So the challenge right now for 2026, to answer your question, is going to be community engagement. You know, this is one of the challenges in the industry. The consumers drinking less. They're going through the shift in the spirit world. So our focus for 2026 so far is going to be to do as many festivals, to do as many activations as possible, where you guys will see Carlos behind the booth doing his thing, sampling, educating as fast as possible, depending how the crowd reacts. And community engagement and education, it's the goal.
Yeah.
To kind of get back on track, the little momentum that the industry as a whole has lost in the last year and a half, more or less. 2025 was definitely crazy, and so far 2026, with the current status in the world, you know, the current craziness that we're going through, it's been a challenge. So the goal, it's 100% community engagement, education, saturate the market where we are at the moment. We're not focused on expanding to New York, Colorado, even though we're going there. We're working on some distribution points and new distribution companies out there. The core focus right now for the first 2 quarters of 2026, it's going to be to saturate the market as much as possible with as many events as we can, you know, engagement, you know, networking, and definitely education. It's going to be the big push so far for 2026.
I mean, we had talked a couple episodes ago about, you know, the importance of community, not just in the agave world, but in the 2026 world in general, and the importance of this community. And again, that's one thing that I was really drawn to the Firme brand and you, Alberto, and Carlos, is your guys' story of building this community and making sure that community is at the center of everything you're doing, and what we've talked about today, and you know, making sure that you're doing everything with the right intention, and you're not just bringing on brands to bring on brands and, you know, pocket a couple bucks. It's really about building and bridging these communities. And I just want to say, you know, I think what you guys are doing is really fantastic, and I'm excited to see you guys grow.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, man.
I think too that what's cool to expand on that is one of the things we mentioned earlier on the last episode is creating a platform or creating opportunities to tell stories. One of the main things about Firme and the brand and community rooted in Chicano culture. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I like that you talked about is not even breaking the stereotypes, but showing like what Chicano is, right? You were talking about lawyers, you were talking about doctors, you were talking about artists, the different artists that you worked with on the labels, on the box set. And one of the things that you said that stuck out to me is like telling these stories and having a platform to push the community forward. I think it speaks a lot, is very commendable to like create that platform and to push others forward. So I guess a little bit both, a little statement and a question is what kind of things can we expect forward on that note is to look forward to either content or what kind of other partnerships we'll see to push that. And another thing I think I could speak for both Jack and I is like to count on us to like help create that content, help tell stories, because we align with that push or that movement that you're doing of telling stories moving forward.
Man, if we can collab with you guys in other segments of this industry, not only to push our brand, but that's a great question because Mike from Boulevard Connect, an episode that I did, it wasn't even a podcast. It was more community engagement. We filmed it at beautiful Guelaguetza, downtown LA. Big shout out to the owners for allowing us to tape there. And part of Boulevard Connect, we actually sponsor a calendar, the 2026 calendar, which I have a stock for you guys. Eventually, I'll get them to you, a little goodie bag. And we're gonna, if you guys allow me, I'll show you guys right now a backpack that we're gonna fill with goodies. We'll figure it out a way to make it engagement with Mezcal Buzz, and someone can win it, and we'll ship it out there full of merch. So part of that, it's collabing with artists. That's one of the core values of the brand, which is artwork, art, religion, culture. Not necessarily in those steps, but with Boulevard Connect, we sponsor this calendar for 2026. I should have brought a copy so we can give a big shout out to Boulevard Connect and everyone that collabed in the 12 months. And they're nothing but artists, clothing brands, local LA clothing brands, makeup artists, lowrider clubs, everything that has to do with the Chicano community are part of that calendar. And that's what we're all about. It's community engagement. How do we support each other? And if you guys get a chance to go to YouTube, look Boulevard Connect, it's all about raza helping raza. And we need it more than ever right now. How do we push each other? How do we leverage that opportunity that maybe Firme Mezcal has a small voice in the community, that someone will see it and end up buying, that clothing brand or buying that calendar, or they look at Mezcal Buzz and they give me a follow because of you guys. So this is all about engagement and community outreach and support. So the goal is eventually to keep going on that route, keep pushing that boundary where we keep pushing each other, educating each other, pushing each other, helping each other. It's important. So in any of the core values of Firme Mezcal, it comes to amazing merch, collabing with the amazing artists in LA, tattoo artists, muralists, anyone that would want to engage with us and collab with us. Let's figure it out. Send me a DM, go to the page, send me an email from the website. Let's find ways to work together, to engage with the community, and together we're going to be stronger. Together we're going to be stronger than just one. And if we can give a little grain of salt in that equation, I think that we all benefit from that small engagement that we can do with each other.
Dope.
That's awesome.
I like that. I think that's something really cool to look forward to, because count on us. I think if we could put together, if we start with like a package, like you said, stay tuned in the description and
Carlos,
also on social.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
Can you get us a backpack, Carlos? I should have brought it.
Oh, here's one.
Quick, yeah.
Yeah, let's show that so we can.
Yeah. And then we'll leave it up to you guys how you guys want to do that, that engagement. So I know a lot of LA fans are gonna go not crazy, but cool with it. It's a Firme LA Dodger blue, of course, backpack. We're gonna fill it up with some hats, the 2026 edition of the hats, with the little logo, the F for Firme. We're gonna fill it up with a couple hats, t-shirts, maybe a bottle of mezcal. You never know what you get in there. Yeah, what do you guys think? We should add a bottle in there. Obviously, Boulevard Connect calendar, some Cholo Lolo dolls that we're gonna be working with Boulevard Connect. Amazing stuff. Some plush toys that we're gonna include.
Amazing.
And then we'll let Marcos and Jack figure it out how the engagement of the community to win this backpack full of goodies will be. We'll leave it up to you guys.
Sweet.
What do you guys think?
Absolutely. And we'll put together some more stuff to add to that. And you guys stay tuned for that, for a giveaway. And more importantly, an invitation for you guys to look for Mezcal Firme, follow Mezcal Buzz, Mezcal Firme, look for us, all of us in the community at events. Come say hello and let's
That's the most
chat,
important
you
thing.
know?
Yeah.
That's one of the questions that I'm so happy that Jack is in front of the camera now. And I was actually going to ask you, Jack, like, what do you see the spirit world? Not so much mezcal, because you guys are going to cover in general agave spirits, man. So what's been that journey for you so far? Because most of the time I would see you behind cameras.
Yeah.
But I'm actually very stoked to see you,
Oh, thank
engaging with us, man, and
Yeah,
having
I
a
mean,
conversation with us.
Honestly, I think I go back, to when Marco asked me to help out with the channel about 1.5 years ago, and I knew nothing. I mean, I was, shooting my $30 bottle of tequila, and that was my Casadores, and that was what I had. And
We'll let it slide. Yeah.
but I think over the last 1.5 years, I've been, welcomed into this community, like you've said, and with open arms, and I've learned so much, and I have so much more to learn. But I think the biggest thing is just seeing like this community, and especially in, I mean, I guess we're in Southern California, so this Southern California community come together, and over the last year, there's been so many challenges, and I know, so much has gone on, but I think what's really drawn me and kept me in this community is the strength of the agave community, and the Southern California community, and the Chicano community, and the Latino community, and everything is just, to me, it's very inspiring, and whatever I can do to be there for any way I can help is kind of, my thing, and it's been great to be a part of, and share mezcal. I know we had talked about in our first episode of the season is, we can talk and talk and talk, and you guys, we've maybe talked 10 minutes about the actual mezcal, and that's kind of what's magical about this is,
Yeah, it takes you so many directions, right?
this bottle is just it brings people together, and sparks conversation, and I think that's the most important thing.
I like that. Yeah, it does. Mezcal brings you together.
Yeah.
Cheers to that, brother.
Cheers to that.
And cheers. And I want to add to that and really give a shout out to Jack, because I think one of the things that attracts people together and community together is genuineness and enthusiasm. And like, since I've known Jack and we've worked together, it's like that. It's like a genuine enthusiasm of like,
interest.
yeah,
Right?
like I like that. I want to
brother.
know
Yeah.
more. And it's like, dude, me too. Let's go check this out. Like, let's go tell these stories and like talk to people, because we have a privilege of having a camera and an outlet to speak with people like you, speak to other people. And it's like, it's our genuine Jack. I could see that same genuineness and enthusiasm to be like, I want to talk to these people and know more. And like, we're totally on this
agree.
journey here and why we're here. So like, cheers to that too.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Appreciate it, man. Cheers.
Pink, pink, pink.
Well,
We'll see
I
that.
think with that, I don't think of a stronger ending. So we'll catch you next time on Mezcal Buzz. Follow Firme Mezcal. Keep an eye out for a giveaway for some cool goodies. And we'll catch you next time.
Cheers.
Saludcita. FirmeMezcal.com, Firme Mezcal, Instagram, all the social medias. We'll see you guys out there. Gracias, raza. Salud.